So hey y'all, it is Angel Victoria and welcome to Not Your Average Church Girl podcast. Today is one of my favorite times that y'all know. It is Tell Your Story Tuesday and I have a beautiful special guest who I've been waiting for her to tell her story. Y'all know that I major in the hard things, and so it's amazing what God can do in those things. Sometimes we feel like what we go through, God can't help us, that He doesn't see us, but God majors in the hard things. And so I know that He's given me um, that message to be able to help people see that He is there for them in these things. Nothing is too big, nothing is too small for God. Just like my story, you all know. But my special guest is here to tell her story. I'm excited about this one. And I would like to introduce you to her. This is
Retta Timmons. Although people like to call me Retta because it's spelled differently, it is Retta.
It is Retta.
It is Retta. Yes.
And so she's beautiful, amazing. I'll let her tell you what she does. I see her at my church. That's where I first met her, was at my church, and got to hear her story for one of the it was Hope for the Holidays. Yes. I heard your story, you guys. There was not a dry eye in the house. I had to go give a family actually tissue because of her story, and that's the power of telling your story. You never know what other people are dealing with or going through, and that's what Tuesdays are for. And so, without further ado, I would love for you to begin to tell your story. First, though, tell them what you do, who you are, and then we'll get into your story.
Wow, that's a loaded question. So again, my name is Retta Timmons, born in Baltimore, Maryland, raised in Baltimore and South Carolina. Stayed in South Carolina until I was 6 and then returned back to Maryland. During the day, I work in cybersecurity for the state of Maryland,
Okay.
which is definitely a blessing from God. I also am working on establishing 2 businesses. One is Dinner and a Dream for young women that feel that they are not inadequate and they have nothing to give to the community. So I want to help them walk through that path of ridding themselves of the trauma, but knowing what their purpose is and just becoming that refined woman that God has created them to be, and just getting back to a place of dreaming.
Yeah.
Because when we often go through trauma, we stop dreaming. Also, Purpose Restored, that's for my more mature, more seasoned women who have dealt with sexual trauma. Mm-hmm. Their identity has been pushed down because they're not aware of who they are because of the trauma, and really walking fully and wholly in their purpose.
Okay.
So modeled for probably 3 decades, actually. One of the most petite models in Baltimore.
Okay.
I have sung in groups. I've sung solo, bowl. I do a little bit of everything. I think the one thing that I love the most is helping women. We get so lost and caught up when we've endured trauma, and we tend to carry it because we're often told in the Black community, what happens in this house stays in this house. And it's also a way of the enemy silencing our voices, because our voices are so impactful and it helps others. So if the enemy shuts us down, which the word tells us he comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Mm-hmm. So if he shuts us down at a young age, that impact is removed until we're restored back to God.
Yeah. I love that because, again, my favorite thing is helping women. All right. My favorite thing in the whole wide world is seeing a woman transformed. And I'm not talking about in the this is taken care of after this is taken care of. And my favorite thing is seeing a woman transformed and renewed into the woman that God has called her to be. And that has been my life story. It's what God is doing now. And it can go in cycles, and it can go, you can get older and you can have a whole new thing that he wants to do, and he has to renew your mind for it, things like that. But
Yes.
seeing a woman transformed and her life changed is like the greatest miracle I ever experience. Each time when I see a woman who has been through something and then she comes out of nowhere just transformed by God, and you can just tell on the outside something has happened, but it all started in here. And so I want you to go into your story of what God has done in your life and how He has transformed and renewed you and has made you the woman that you are today and still becoming.
So I will say, because this just came to mind, the first in my family to graduate high school.
Come on.
So my mother reached high school.
Mm-hmm.
My father was elementary
Mm-hmm.
school. So both, you have dropouts. And then you have my grandparents that did not graduate.
Mm-hmm.
It took me to reach my senior year in high school, and I dropped out.
Wow.
For about
So
2
this
months.
is a cycle in your family.
Yes.
Wow.
Which is now broken. We thank God.
Come through. Come
We
on,
thank
God.
God. So I was in bed sleeping one morning, and I felt like this push, and I heard, "Get up." And I'm looking around because I know I'm in the bed alone.
Yeah.
And I said, "I'm going back to sleep." And I heard it again, and it was louder. "Get up. This is not what I called you to be." And I said, "Okay, get up." Got up, got myself dressed, went to school, asked the administrator, "What can I do to graduate?" Because I think I missed 2 to 3 months. They said, "You need to go and speak to all of your teachers, and they will tell you what to do, because it's up to them what happens." I went to all of my instructors, and they were fine with giving me the work that I missed. And like, there was this assessment test. There was one that told me no.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Is there anything that I can do?" And he said, "Well, let me think about it." He took some time and thought about it. And he said, "Okay, I'll allow you to come back and we'll see what happens." Lo and behold, I went in, I worked hard, I walked the stage. No GED, graduation. One thing my father had always said to me that resonates, it just resonates all the time. All I want you to do is finish school, finish high school. And I'm grateful to God. Not only was I able to graduate high school, I also I earned my associate's degree.
Come through.
So now I'm working on my bachelor's degree in communication.
Mm-hmm.
I have also graduated from Light University. I'm a certified mental health life coach. I'm now working on the one course, the youth and young adult mental health course. There's another course which is sort of like a recovery course, and then there's a trauma informed course that I'm working on completing. So working on those things, working on the businesses, a new transplant to the Charlotte, South Carolina area, and it has been amazing. I fought tooth and nail because I did not want to move.
Mm-hmm.
Although I hated Baltimore, I did not want to move. But God kept showing me, this is not your promised land.
Right.
That's why everything here is failing, because this is not the place. I need for you to move. And after 4 years of having boxes laying in my house, I finally packed up and moved. And I wish I would have been obedient sooner, and I would have done it. Just the people here are phenomenal. They're willing to help you and aid you and push you to where God has called you to. Whereas in Baltimore, they really wanted nothing to do with you until you've made it. And then it's, "Oh, that's my girl. That I know her.
I hate
That's
that.
my cousin." No,
No.
No. It's either you ride through the bad in order to be with me in the good, or you don't ride at all.
Right. And that's unfortunate because it's human, but it's just unfortunate that you don't get to experience something beautiful and great in my life. Like you said, riding with me through this. Instead of you just want to see all the glory versus all the rest of the story of what happened.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask you this before you continue. What made you drop out of school? Like because you said this happened in your family, and you broke that. But what was the reason?
I believe there are multiple generational curses, some of them that have been dissolved or severed off of my bloodline. And just going back through the history, which I found out later, a lot of my family did not graduate. So in the space that I'm in now with some of the courses that I've taken and learning more about generational curses, generational blessings, the habits and breaking those cycles, when you see one, not even one, but three or more people that have done the same thing in your bloodline, that's a curse that's on your bloodline.
Yeah.
It's just not a, this is who I am, this is who we are. It's a curse that's on your bloodline.
Wow.
And I don't know whether it was, I was just tired of going to school, dealt with a lot of rejection in school. One of the more petite people in school, one of the more well-dressed people in school, I pretty much stayed to myself unless you bothered me. I was provoked into a lot of fights, and I got to a point where I was just tired.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to do this anymore. What's going to be the outcome? What's the purpose? My dad didn't graduate high school, and he's doing okay.
Yeah.
My mom didn't graduate high school. And this was a woman, I believe, still today, if they had not endured some of the things they endured, we would be in another financial bracket. But learning the various things that took place, it's like, that's why X, Y, and Z didn't happen. And just asking questions. Because the one thing that I did do with my daughter, I told her everything.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing to hide. And it was like hearing that voice, and I'm like, okay, am I crazy? And it's like, get up and go to school.
Yeah.
Get your degree. And that was literally all my father ever asked.
Oh yeah. Your story right here reminds me of. So I started looking for just our lineage in my family. So I started digging, and I got my DNA tested and all these kind of things, and it just blew my mind at what I found. Like when I dug deeper in different parts of the family, there were people who were doctors, there were people who owned land, there's somebody that wrote a book. Um, and I don't know these people, but I just found them through people saying, "Hey, your grandma is this. Your grandma's my mom." Even I even found my mom's dad. There's different things like that.
Wow.
It was amazing to see, but deep in our bloodline was a lot of stuff going on. Some things I was just like, I don't think I wanted to find this, you know. But it was crazy because all those people that whoever was a doctor, someone that wrote a book, um, somebody that owned land, it stopped at a certain point, skipped generations, and I'm like, whatever happened to that, and why?
Yeah.
So that just reminded me, you telling that part of your story. So yes, continue. Like, okay, so you got out of school, you dropped out of school, you got back in, you graduated. Um, what happened next?
Graduated high school, and I'll go back just a tad bit. When I was 15, going into 17, I moved out of my parents' home.
Mm-hmm.
When you go through sexual trauma, it seems like it takes you into adulthood. You feel like, well, you've done this, now you're an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was very firm, very stern. There were places we could not go, and I would see my friends Baltimore Inner Harbor. They were always at the Inner Harbor. They were going skating. They were doing all of these fun things. And here we are. When that light comes on,
It's time to
you
get
better
in
be at that post. So if I call your name, you better be able to hear me. And if I say it's time to come in, you come in the house.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought I was an adult. And why do I have to listen to you? Why can't
Right.
I go out? Why can't I have fun? Why can't I hang out with my friends?
Hey y'all, Angel here, and thank you for tuning in here to Not Your Average Church Girl podcast. I wanted to take some time for my newbies to let you know that we have a lot going on every single month. We start with Mindset Mondays, where you can renew your mind for the month. And then we have Tell Your Story Tuesdays, where I invite some guests on to be able to tell their story. So maybe you could get some encouragement. And then every Wednesday, we have some wisdom that we can just spit out. And I'm just teaching from the Word of God, teaching from my heart, and whatever God puts on my heart as this theme for the month. And so I pray that you can join me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and then share this with some people. Share this with some women that you know need to have the Word of God placed in their heart. You guys, the Word of God is powerful. It is all amazing, if that's a word. But yeah, I would love for you to join me. Invite your friends. I'll see you soon.
And I ended up moving with a friend of mine at the time, her and her dad. And it was probably one of the worst things I could have done.
Yeah, and you said you were 15?
I was about 15 going into 16.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it just was like, well, you think you're grown? Okay. Little did I know, yeah, you're not grown. Because when trauma happens, well, when I'll say, actually, when trauma, and it's not always sexual trauma, but when trauma happens, a lot of the times, it's called arrested development.
Mm-hmm.
You're physically growing.
Not the group.
Not the group. Not the group. You're physically growing. Your body continues to grow, but your emotions, your mental state remains at the age in which the trauma happens.
Okay.
And for a long time, I kept saying, why do I not feel like an adult? I feel like a kid. I feel stupid. I don't feel smart. Why don't I know some of the things I believe I should know as an adult?
Mm-hmm.
And there were some things my mom did not teach me. Like my menses began, I was 8 or 9. I thought I was dying.
Wow.
I thought I was just bleeding out, but my mother did not explain it to me until it happened. And it's like, those are things we should know.
Right.
And it literally, it changed my life. So going to stay with that family, I had already experienced a lot of sexual and emotional trauma. And it happened there as well. And my friend's mom, one day she said, I think it's time for you to go home. And she didn't live in the house, but she said, I think it's time for you to go home. So we went to my parents' home. We had a conversation with them. And I ended up going to stay with someone else.
Mm.
And the same thing happened there. And what we don't have a clear understanding is when you have been sexually abused, there's a stench, there's a scent that you carry, and people can smell it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're literally drawn to you.
Yeah.
So now they get to a place of, well, let me see if I can groom them this way, or let me see if I can groom them that way, so I can at least get them to trust me.
Yeah.
And my father was in the home physically and as a provider, but mentally and emotionally, he was not there. So that took away me really learning my identity before any of the other stuff could even happen. Because my mother was a disciplinarian. She really didn't, she was not the nurturing teacher that mothers are created to be. So I was kind of just left out there trying to figure stuff out. And then once graduating from high school, got into dating, in the marching band, pom-pom squad and all of these other things, running track, which was a highlight in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point where it's, okay, well, do what everyone else did. Get a job.
Yeah.
Started working it's a place called Chimes Inc. They work with the mentally disabled. So what they do is they have them come in and they would have them put together like the little balls that are in the gumball machines. They would put like the little prizes and toys inside of there and close them up. So they would have activities which they were paid for. Started working there, met a young man, and we started dating. And at the time, I had no idea because I was out in them good old Baltimore streets, hitting the club from Wednesday night to Sunday night. Life was just one big party.
Yeah.
Because all of the things my mother told me that I could not do, I was doing it all.
Wow.
And I mean all of it. And the one thing another thing he said was, I will never ever have to worry about you doing drugs because you hate needles.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you are absolutely correct. So ripping and running, partying hard, partying hard. Met this gentleman. We were together for a while, and realized there were some mental issues.
Mm.
He had never ever dated Caucasian women. He had always dated blacks. And I made the decision I no longer wanted to be with him, and that was a problem for him. And he tried to take his life multiple times. And it's like, yeah, this is not a safe place. And we ended up parting ways. And then I started getting a friend of mine who we were together since middle school, hanging out with her. And that is where I was introduced into prostitution and stripping. So due to the sexual abuse, I became addicted to sex.
Mm-hmm.
It was my drug.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, it's shopping or whatever it may be. Mine was sex.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally, my body craved it so much. And not understanding the difference between flesh and spirit, not understanding the amazing temple that God created me to be, to just house, and how to take care of it, how to care for it, what should go in it, what should not go in it, and just really not knowing God and having that relationship and what I should be doing. And it got so bad. I was literally going, and I'm dating myself, which I don't care because I look good for my age.
You do.
Craigslist, Black Planet.
Black Planet. That was the place to be.
Yes, it was.
That was the place to be.
Yes, it was. MySpace.
Good Lord, I'm not old. I'm not old.
Not at all. Not
but
at
those
all.
were the places to be.
They were. And I literally was going on those places to find sexual partners. Mm-hmm. So literally from 1 to even sometimes 3 sexual partners at one time, male and female. And it's like, what is this? Why am I having these issues? What's causing this? And I didn't care at that time because I just didn't understand. It was like, this is what I want. This is what I need. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. And she introduced me to a friend of hers at the time. It was someone she had dated, but they weren't serious. And then like his friends would come over and we would get together. And then it got to a point where he and I would just get together and he would just pay me. And this was an every weekend thing. And then it kind of elevated from there because I started creating price lists. And I said, okay, for this, and this is what it's going to cost. And he would just have me come over to his house. We would literally all night. In the morning, we would kiki, eat, and I'd leave. And then it got to the point with going on the sites, it was meeting people, meeting them at hotels, and leaving and possibly never seeing them again.
Wow.
Married couples. And if I had known then what I know now, that stuff would have never been done.
Right.
It would have never been done. And it got to a place where I met a young man, and he was having these parties in different places. Like they would rent out different spaces and set up and you would strip. And he was like, well, I know you like to dance. Won't you try this? Me being very naive, very gullible, I was like, okay, tried it, making money, didn't need the money, and went. And I think one of the things that got to me was seeing the young ladies. They were a lot healthier. These bodies,
voluptuous.
yes, very voluptuous, very full. And it's like, no one's going to want to tip me for that because I don't have what they had. However, my body, although I was smaller, but I was very well built, like just naturally muscular and toned. Like 0.2 body fat. Just,
I remember those days.
Lord, yes, I would love to have them back.
Take me back, Lord.
I'd love to have them back. And what I was thinking in my head was not so, because I was being tipped. I was asked to do other parties. And then my friend that introduced me, she said, well, hey, won't we start doing private parties? Then you don't have to do this stuff anymore. You do private parties, you get all the tips, you get this, you get that. And I'm like, okay, cool. She was like she was more of a masculine spirit.
Right.
More of a masculine spirit, very feminine, but very masculine. She was like a bully.
Like dominating?
Very dominating.
What did they call those ladies back in the day?
They used to call them butches.
No, not even that, but just, they're not like house moms, but, in brothels.
Yes.
What do they call
madams?
them? Madams. Was she more like that, or just, you're talking about she is like a spirit?
There were spirits.
It was.
I didn't know then, but I know a lot more now.
Because it sounds, what you're saying, it's like you were saying grooming you into, manipulating you into. Okay.
Very manipulative.
It's giving.
Yes.
Players Club.
Yes.
The girl from the Players Club that was such a bully.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
that was her.
That's what I was picturing in my head. Like,
that was her. That was her. And we would go to these and do these private parties. And I guess you could say she was my pimp.
Yeah.
And I remember this one private party we did. It was a bridal shower.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a bridal shower. And I was the first girl to perform. And I thought it was so funny because here I am, had no clue as really what I'm doing. I'm just dancing because I've always loved dancing. Was not using the pearls and some of the other tricks that they use to kind of entice and all of it. It was just naturally dancing, just being very sensual, very just, and they loved that. They were like, Shorty, you was the best one here. You ain't need none of that. And I was like, well, thank you. And it ended up that night, the groom was like, I want Shorty. This is what he said to my friend. And she was like, well, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
And I literally, because this is the part I left out, I would have to drink before I did it.
Yeah.
Because now I'm getting to this point where it's like, Rita, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What's going on? Because that feeling started dissipating where I really did not want to do it anymore.
Right. God, I call them those God interruptions.
Yes.
Like, it's not that he wasn't there.
Yes.
But now he's like, okay, this is my daughter. Gone too far. It's time to.
Yes. And she was like, well, this is what he wants. I'm like, okay, cool. So she said, well, you want something else to drink? I was like, no, I don't want anything else to drink. Just let me do it, get it done and get it out of the way. And this young man was questioning whether he was really ready to get married or not.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
And that night, that thing disturbed me so much. I never did another bachelor party.
Mm-hmm.
Because my mind started coming around to, that's not something that you want in your marriage.
Right. Right.
And you don't know what you're doing. And not only do you not know what you're doing, we don't always have an understanding of soul ties. We don't know that there is a thing called spirit spouses.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know that there are so many things that are transferring one to another while we're in the moment of those acts, and we don't have an understanding of that. And we're later trying to figure out, well, why am I not married? Why am I doing these habits? Why is this particular habit coming every now and then? Why am I craving this thing?
Oh, no.
And we're not understanding even why we're acting like this particular person that we don't even know, because we don't know who they've been with before we've been with them.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's going on? And the funny thing is, I've always been in church.
When the devil go to church, I'm not calling you the devil, but
absolutely.
They say the devil go to church.
Absolutely.
And sits on the front row.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And literally raised in church. And it's like, well, what's going on? And I was like, something has to change. Something has to give. Stop doing that. She and I were still friends, but there became a separation.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't as close anymore. And I think after that, I met I say maybe a year or two after, I met my ex-husband. Working at Chimes, he was home from the military. One of the gentlemen that would come and bring the clients started questioning me, like, are you single? Sir, you are a little too old. I'm not even attracted to you. I don't want nothing to do with you. And he said, no. He said, my son-in-law is home. He said, and I think you're an amazing young lady. I would love for you all to meet. And I'm like, okay, fine. There's no big thing. He asked for my number. He gave him my number, and he called me, and we started talking. And we instantly hit it off. We talked for a minute. We talked for probably a week. And then we started seeing each other. And then we became inseparable. I think he was home for a month before he was going to his next station. He was in the Navy. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to go into the Navy after high school. I failed the ASVAB by 5 points.
No.
I was so disappointed.
Oh, no.
Because I was in ROTC in school. I loved it. I loved ROTC. I was the drill team captain. And they thought I was a guy. So when we would go to schools to do drills, they were trying to figure out where was this big voice coming from out of such this small person. And the kids thought that one event we went to, they thought I was a child. And they thought I was a male. And just our connection was so tight. And although I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm in love, it wasn't love, it was lust. And we started spending so much time together. Introduced me to his family. He met my family. He had to leave. It was his 30 days were up. He was going to his next station, which was in Bahrain. And we're now on the phone talking $1,500 phone bills. Yes, ma'am. $1,500 phone bills. He was not coming back anytime soon. He was like, would you like to come and visit? And I was like, sure. And making preparations to go visit, he purchased plane tickets, everything. And I remember packing up all of my stuff and shipping stuff over to him. Because at this time I was heavy into modeling. So hair, makeup, all of that stuff. And just asking like what the weather's like, because I'm like, what am I going to do with my hair?
And y'all, hopefully she will show some picture, but she wasn't just no little model. She was a model.
Published and paid.
Okay. Okay. Because you skipped over all the modeling stuff. You just eased into it and said, and I was modeling heavily at this time. No. When did you get into modeling?
I first got into modeling, or my family put me into, it started off with pageants. Mm-hmm. So my first pageant, I was 4 years old.
Got you.
Somewhere there is a picture of me in an orange gown with, the picture looks like they were red socks with the white ruffle and my black patent leather.
We all had those.
Yes. And I'm in the back of a convertible and I'm waving. And then there's another picture of me in the house. Mm-hmm. So it started out with pageants and won the pageant, and then picked up modeling in high school.
Okay. So you were doing a lot.
Yes.
Good Lordy.
Yes. And when I arrived in high school, my junior year, one of my absolute favorite teachers, Miss Aska, Lord, may she rest in heaven. We started a charm club. She came to me. She said, I see the way you carry yourself. And she said, you're so well groomed. You're so well mannered. Mm-hmm. She said, I would love to start a charm club with you. And we started working on the charm club. And that got me into, because I was actually modeling around that time. Because we were doing fashion shows in school. And it was, it came due to rejection. Mm-hmm. In the modeling world, you're accepted.
Yeah.
With the exception of, because I was only 5 feet, your standard model is 5'9", mm-hmm. 0 to size 4. Yeah. So being 5 feet 0 inches, everyone's like, we would love to have you, but you can't fit any of the garments. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. And then I started to say, no, can I at least walk for you? And they said, you can walk, but you still can't model. I walked and started booking shows. And then I attended a school. It was, at the time, it was Odyssey, which is no longer in business. I attended Odyssey Modeling School.
I think I've heard of that before. I think I have. I don't know.
And one of the instructors took me under his wing. One of the designers, they took me under their wings, and I just started doing shows. And I got to the point where literally when you are 5 feet, you can model, but you're not considered a runway model. They don't want you on the runway. So people were asking me, well, won't you get into editorial? Won't you get into this hand modeling? But no, I want the runway.
Right.
and they started raising me up and training me. So then I got to a place where I could stride
Wow.
with the girls that were 6 feet. And you really couldn't tell the difference
Wow.
because I was able to keep up with them. And there is an enormous difference in the height,
Right.
but you couldn't tell. And people started asking, well, who is this chick? And designers started allowing me to walk in their shows. And it literally became, I would say, 3 decades of me
Wow.
being in the industry, hairstylist that I was going to, I've been published in, it's either 3 or 4 magazines. Very amazing time in the industry.
Wow.
So in New York, and let me put this disclaimer in. So we have New York Fashion Week.
Mm-hmm.
So you will hear some models say that I'm walking in New York Fashion Week. My thing was, if you are not walking in the New York Fashion Week, it's really not Fashion Week to me.
Wow.
So there was this show in New York during New York Fashion Week called Emerge. So that's like baby New York Fashion Week.
Gotcha.
So I've had the opportunity to walk in the Emerge show during New York Fashion Week, and people were asking like, who is this? Where did she come from? Different designers, working with different people in the industry. It was a beautiful time in my life, because dealing with kind of being rejected with your family, here you are being accepted in this arena.
Right.
And it brought me through some of the worst times of my life, and no one was there. It wasn't like some people see it like this. It's just glitz and glamour. It's this great big orgy. You don't have time to look at people.
Right.
Because your changes have to be quick.
Yeah.
So you don't have time for that. And even in modeling, coming from the runway to training, which I have not shared with a lot of people. So I was later hired by someone that worked for an agency to start scouting models. One of the models that I scouted, she's walked from everyone to Givenchy to Ferragamo. She has literally walked in various shows, signed to multiple agencies. And it took and I'm starting to tear up, because I used to deny the things that God put in me. I didn't think I was capable of doing such amazing things. And even producing my own fashion show. I had a church I was attending, a pastor's wife came to me and she said, can you put a fashion show together for us? And I was like, no. Low self-esteem, lack of confidence, self-sabotage, self-rejection, just not thinking I'm not good enough. So for 2 years, I told her no.
Wow.
1 year she came and asked, and I said, sure. The show was put together in less than 2 months. Designers, makeup artists, hairstylists, everything. I had my team. And one of the things I believe in, even to this day, if you say you are going to train models, train them so that they walk those major runways. Treat it like they treat the models in New York. That has always been a thing for me. And there's such a difference when you're doing local shows compared to those shows, because there is all of these different terms. Is literally almost, some of them look like they're dancing, and it's like, that is not modeling. So their productions is what they're called. And I was not hard on the girls, but I wanted them to be trained correctly. And at the show, they had their hair done, manicures, like the works. The people were fed. It was just a beautiful event. And even years after, I had people coming to me, when are you doing another show? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? That show is amazing. When are you doing another show? I said, I don't know.
So you modeled, met this young man. Y'all are about to go, or you're about to go see him, visit him. What's happening next?
Pack everything up. I ship boxes upon boxes of clothing and hair supplies. And he said, what is all of this stuff? I said, it's clothes and hair supplies. And he was like, you don't need, yes, I do.
Well,
and at this time, I had shoulder length hair. And back then, the top was so high, the scrunchie, yeah, that's what I was rocking back then. So I needed all of that hair stuff. So I finally arrived. It's you.
Oh no.
Oh God, it's so humid. And then it got to a point where it was hot, but it wasn't humid because it's the desert.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And just looking around, in a very quaint apartment, not knowing anyone. And he takes me on base, introduces me to people. He plays basketball. Tony was 6'4".
Okay, 6'4". You're right.
Love him. 6'4", about 250, 275. I mean, he towered over me. And meet the basketball team. So I start helping them to coach basketball, keeping time, and all of these other things. And his mother told me before I left, Rita, can you please make me a promise that you all do not get married? I was like, yes, ma'am. And what do we do when I get there? We get married. Which neither one of us wanted. But no one wanted to hurt the other one's feelings. So get there. World of fun. I wanted for nothing. Beautiful country. Clean eating. You go in and you get like a half grocery bag full of, large shrimp, like $15. Like not like a pound, but half the bag full. Lamb, just that it was such a happy place. It was a beautiful time. And I've had, of course, my mom and dad, seeing them married, but there was a lot of physical violence there. The arguing, the fussing, seeing my grandparents married, although my grandfather had passed away, seeing my aunts and my uncles. So there's a lineage of married, but then there are other things within. So there was not really a happy, just joyful marriage that I could even mirror or try to mirror. And I just knew what I saw my mom do for my dad. So like he would come home, some of his shifts were overnight, meal on the table, bath water ran, or the shower was running, and I would literally get in and bathe him. Taking the opportunity to sit and scratch his scalp and breathe his scalp. And there were mornings I remember I would put his toothpaste on his toothbrush. So it was more like I was mothering than this is my husband. And I didn't realize it until later. It was like he was a grown man. Those are things he could have done. I just wanted him to be happy in the marriage. We cooked together. That was a beautiful aspect. And it's like, okay, we stayed there for a year, little over a year. And he was like, well, do you want to go back home? I did not want to go back to the States, but he wanted to go back to the States. We moved to Virginia. That was not the best move. He ended up, let me go back. During the marriage, I went into infidelity. One of the positions that I was working, met a young man. He could speak Spanish. there was something about language, different languages, certain languages that I love, and ended up being intimate with him.
Mm-hmm.
Then we moved to Virginia, and later to find out that my ex-husband was doing the same thing. So we got to a point, we were traveling back and forth to Maryland. And one weekend I went home, I had a fashion show, and I came back and there was a young lady's voice on the voicemail. He said he was going fishing. So when he came in, I said, hey, how was fishing? What did you all catch? Da, 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 da. And I never looked for evidence. He told me he was going fishing. Okay, cool. Hear this voice on the voicemail, and she called him by his name, not his nickname.
Mm-hmm.
His name is not a common name.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew that it was intentional, and she knew this person. There was no way this was a coincidence.
Right.
She called him by his name, and I said, well, who is this young lady? He says, I don't know who that is. I said, if she had called you by your nickname, which is very common, I said, I would believe you, but she's calling you by your name, and she's sorry that she couldn't come and stay here in Virginia
Mm-hmm.
with you the weekend. When are you coming back to DC? Because she would love to see you again. Who is she?
Mm-hmm.
Needless to say, that ended our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Got on the phone with my mother in minutes. Police were knocking at the door to make sure I was okay that weekend. My mother and my father were in a U-Haul picking me up from Virginia, moving me back to Maryland. That is when I literally got back into singing because I needed an outlet.
Mm-hmm.
Because by this time, there's just trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. And suicidal thoughts, different times. And I'm just trying to move on with life. And it's like, okay, we're getting a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And even in that, asking him, why did you get married? Why did you want to get married? And it's like, because I really cared about you. I really loved you. And he said, what I realized, I wasn't ready. I said, well, why didn't you say something?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like, I want to get married. I never mentioned marriage.
Yeah.
He proposed. And I was like, okay. So there was no push. There was none of that. And I said, well, why didn't you say something when we went to the justice of the peace? Because that would have just knocked that out of the way. I said, because I didn't want to, but I didn't want to hurt you. And he said, well, the same thing. And I'm like, but I didn't ask for this.
Yeah.
I was happy with us just living together, cooking and having that relationship, and ended up getting divorced. And we kind of parted ways, and he later became married, and we ended up coming back together because I kind of coached him in regards to his marriage. And that happened, and then returned back here and got out there just a little bit and met someone, started spending time with him. And this is when I thought my life was really about to change. It was changing. At this point in time, I really wanted to know who God was.
Right.
Started getting that hunger and that craving. And we were dating, and he was a dancer. So he danced for Teen Summit. So every weekend I'm going to Teen Summit, and I'm loving it because I'm meeting all of the celebrities before they become celebrities. And it got to the point he wasn't working. I got tired because I have my own place. I have my own vehicle, and you have nothing. So something has to give. And I ended up leaving him. A friend of mine introduced me to someone else, intimate with him. And down the line, I became pregnant with my daughter. And I said, okay, received the ultimatum. Either you have an abortion or we work on our relationship. Deuces. Bye.
Bye.
See you. Because I was told at a younger age I would not be able to have children, which I was fine with because I did not want children.
Mm-hmm.
And to hear that, I'm like, wow, cool. So now what do you do about to have a child? And prior to that month, prior to finding out I was pregnant, my mother committed suicide.
No.
So it's like, what are you going to do? You don't know how to raise a child. Your mom is not here. My dad would do whatever I asked of him to do just to make sure that we were okay, but it was not the same. So got out of that relationship and went back home. And the other gentleman had his sister calling me. He would call and sing songs. He was playing songs. She's calling like, girl, please call him because he wants you back. And I'm like,
No, I'm good.
And I finally reached out to him and we got together and I said, hey, look, I said, I'm pregnant and I have to do what I have to do for my child. And he said, I really want us to get back together. He said, and I will raise her as my own. That weekend, his nephew was having a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, and that's when he told everybody, we're having a baby. That went on. We were together for maybe 6 months, a year, 6 months, a year. And then he decided he no longer wanted to be in that relationship. He had went to New York, met someone. She was pregnant.
Oh, Lord.
So, yeah, baby, it's a lot has occurred in my life. And we sat in the backseat of my car one night and literally cried because he said, I need to end this. I need to tell my family the truth. And it's like, how do I deal with the truth of them realizing that she's not their family? His father said, I don't care. She is my granddaughter and you better not change your name. They loved her. Father continued to come and pick her up every weekend, took her shopping, all of those things. And it's like, God, I need you to help me raise her because I don't know what I'm doing. And that is when all of the promiscuity and all of those things really started dissipating and dwindling out of my life because I started getting to know who Rita really is.
So, with all that, because yes, a lot has happened in your life, like more stuff than you said on the last time. Woo!
Yeah.
With all that, because I know we're out of time. What I see now is a far cry from what all you've told me, and I would love for you to let them know, like um, just the transformation that God has done in your life from the stuff that happened in high school, abuse, dropping out, modeling, getting married, divorcing, having a child, and the father doing whatever he did to now you have this pull from God on your life to now. What happened with that transformation story?
Really got into church and started digging into the Lord because I really wanted to know what it is He or who He created me to be outside of being His daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Attending church, putting myself out there, and realizing that there are so many women that needed to hear my story.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had been in this place where, and I'll say for me, I was in that place as well, thinking I was the only one that went through it. So there's this guilt and this shame and embarrassment. And I don't want to say anything to anyone because I'm thinking I'm the only one. But putting myself in a space, I finally shared what happened with a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
After sharing with him, I felt this humongous weight lifted.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I was supposed to start sharing with other women. And the more that I began to share, the more weight
Dropped
fell
off.
off.
Mm.
the more the Lord started showing me who He really created me to be and what I was supposed to be doing. Leaving church one Sunday, He gave me a vision of pizza boxes sitting on a table, and they were stacked really high.
Mm-hmm.
And there were these red chairs, like these red oval chairs. And I just heard giggling in the background. And I said, Lord, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
And He said, dinner and a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is that? I didn't hear anything else. I didn't ask anything else about it. And I'm a very heavy dreamer. And in between that deep state of sleep and waking up, He just started showing me stuff and giving me stuff. So you really mean to tell me everything that I went through is to impact someone else's life?
Yep.
And how do I begin to share this? And I just started meeting people and started sharing my story. Even at the state of Maryland, they have Toastmasters International,
Mm-hmm.
which I became a member of, and I started sharing my story there, and went all the way to the regional
Wow.
contest, and almost won, but the times were off between the two timekeepers. And there were so many people that were so disappointed because of the person that did win. And they said, please don't ever stop sharing your story. But then allowing the Lord to just work on my heart.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the shallow stuff um, started falling away. I started seeing people for their hearts and not for what they could give me, not what they could do for me. Got to a place where I no longer wanted to manipulate people to get what I wanted.
Right.
Or where there's a t-shirt that I have and it says, I survived. And one day, just even walking, I looked at the t-shirt and the Lord said, this is the shirt you need to start wearing when you share your story, because it literally was a banner of pity, because I wanted people to ask, well, what did you survive? It was like wearing it as, it was a badge of honor in a sense, as I was a victim, because I was still living in a victim mentality. But people needed to know, once you get to a place, you can't keep surviving. You have to get to a point of thriving.
Yeah, exactly.
And now getting to that point and allowing, even now, because healing, oh God, healing can be a one time. However, because there are so many different layers
Yeah.
that have to be peeled away and so many different remnants that are still there, I'm still in therapy and I love it. Just different things, different outlets. You all, I promise you, if you journal, it's a healing space, a healing remnant in journaling.
Yeah.
There's something about putting that pen to paper, not typing it, but putting the pen to paper that helps you to heal.
Yeah.
But watching him just strip away all of these things and the dissonance, the disconnection, the self-hate. I used to hate my name. Like, there were so many things I hated about me, but getting to a place of where I don't love the things, but I love me. I love God and I want more of God. And I would hear so many prophetic words. Rita, He wants you to come back and start singing again because He misses hearing you sing. And I didn't want to sing.
Right.
Because I didn't sound like everybody else.
Who does, though?
And it was like, I don't want to sing. I don't want to sing. So I started going back to vocal coaches, and this one lady shared with me, she said, do you know? She said, you really don't know what's inside of you, do you? I said, no, I really don't. She said, do you know that the note that Mariah Carey hits, that high note? I said, yeah. She said, you can hit that note. but you have to be disciplined and you have to make sure that you keep pushing through this.
Mhm.
She told me I was a mezzo soprano. I was like, okay, I don't know what that means.
Very high soprano.
Yes. And just allowing God to just work in me and through me, and to see that I've gone from dancing in the club Wednesday through Sunday to now being in a space in the church where I'm ministering through dance. And even there are times on Sundays, it's like, and I know I'm not, but it's like I don't even feel worthy to be in that space. Like I don't feel worthy to worship you, God. I don't feel worthy because there are times when the enemy will come and say, you should.
He's a liar. So there's, and that's because I know we have to end, but that right there is what I want you to like encourage women, because there's so many women who God has set them free, delivered them, but the enemy likes to yap his jaws and um, keep them from doing and being who God calls, because God says we're worthy.
Yes.
His son died on the cross so that we could live and live a life to this worthy call.
Absolutely.
So I would like you to look at the camera and encourage these women about their worthiness and who God called them to be, and whatever it is you want to say.
So first, I will say this. So I kept hearing this Romans 8:28. We know that all things work together for the good of them that love God. Even in that, know that no matter how filthy or how dirty you felt, God loves you even in that space. There is so much that He's placed in you. Okay. Even now, you were chosen for such a time as this. So whatever it is you're feeling inadequate about, you're feeling you're not worthy of, there are women, men that are waiting to hear your story because they need you. No matter what it is that I've shared, my voice may not reach them. They may not, their ears may not be set to my voice, but their ears may be set to yours. And what we don't want is that blood on our hands when we are called and the Lord asks, I placed this in you. What did you do with it? So I don't care what it is you're feeling, because our feelings lie to us.
Right.
You need to know that God loves you without a shadow of a doubt. Literally, all you have to do is go to Him and repent. And all repentance is turning away from that thing. I laid in beds I had no business being in. And when I finally felt that earning and that yearning to grow closer to God, I went. And you can do the same thing. There is so much greatness on your life. There is so much greatness that is in you. And the word tells us with Him, all things are possible. Anything is possible. Almost a high school dropout. No way did I ever think I would be working with women or teaching young ladies. I never thought I would have a model walking on catwalks around the world. But if He did it for me, for little filthy, wretched me, He can absolutely do it for you. But you have to know, you have to trust and believe, and you have to surrender all of that over to Him. Because it's too heavy for us to bear. But He can bear all of it.
I know we have to have you up here because I know there's more. And this is probably going to be a part 2, but I'm just grateful that you got to come and share your story, and I would love to have you again. Just reminded me, we had a yard sale today, and a little girl, a lot of my shirts, I have so many t-shirts, I just need to, so I put a lot of my t-shirts out there that I couldn't fit anymore, and one that I made said, I'm not perfect, but I am surrendered. And a little girl, I don't think her family was, I think she liked how it was. She goes, ooh, pretty. And I don't think she understood what it meant, but she asked her mommy, could she have it? I said, you can have it. And I just was smiling because I'm like, I don't even know if she knows what that says.
Yeah.
And that's what your life reminds me of. You're not perfect. None of us are. But we are surrendered. And that's what God looks at.
Yes.
And He loves us tremendously. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for
telling your
me.
story. I've got to, like I said, there's more. I know there is. So I got to have you again, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
All right, awesome.
Absolutely.
We love y'all. Thank you for joining us today. We will see you soon.